like we live in an economic world, so you need to make money, obviously. But I'm not saying that the only reason you guys made the business is to make money. But how have you thought about transitioning the focus on sort of like education, community, behavior change, et cetera, those skills? Like, what have you learned from running a business now for, I don't know, what was it, like 8 months?
Yeah.
Like, what new skills have you seen that you needed, and like how has that transition been?
Yeah, it's funny when you launch a product and you have these people, like there are a lot of people that are overwhelmingly supportive. And then there are a lot of people that like, what the fuck is this? Like, can't you just like eat a steak instead? And I'm like, you do realize that like for the first year of the Meat Mafia, we literally invested thousands of dollars into the podcast without making a single cent. Like we would fly across the country just for an interview because we were like, we could maybe get some information that would be really super helpful to our audience. I think what's interesting, the difference in our perspectives is like when you launch Perfect Keto, this almost like Logan Paul, Mr. Beast creator type model that then transitioned in the CPG space didn't really exist to the extent that it did today. So I think for us, you know, we started to see people really leaning into the show, and the two most common questions we would get were just like supplement recommendations or what's a great quality source to or farm to be able to source meat from. And Harry and I just kind of had a whiteboarding session one day with our co-founder Colin, and I was like, well, if we were to look at the supplements or the foods that really helped us get in the best shape of our lives and heal my stomach, it was a combination of beef, grass-fed organs, raw milk, colostrum, and then collagen through the source of bone broth. And we just said, look, could we maybe combine these things into like an all-in-one protein powder that could serve as a bridge product to a lot of people, where maybe you're not replacing organs or steak for this product, but like someone like my sister, I think is a great example, where she's never going to go eat raw organs on her own, but she should find like a delicious way to be able to get some of these things into her diet. So we were really trying to solve for like, does this ancestral angle actually have mass market appeal? And can we do it in a very thoughtful way? Not this like Liver King, like overly rustic approach where it's like you can still build a great business over that, but can we make it a little bit cleaner, like modern branding, like a little bit more inviting, and something where, people of all shapes and sizes want to try this product, because like just getting more protein or more nutrients in your diet as opposed to going carnivore or making all these other changes, I think it's just a lot more sustainable and approachable for people too.
So how has the transition been as far as like skills development? What have you guys been interested in? Like what's it been like? It's that's what I learned. I mean, I was posting a little bit of stuff when I launched Perfect Keto.
Yeah.
I was still in my clinic when I launched Equip. There was a lot of stuff that was going on for me, and it was hard, but man, it's just like a whole new life.
Yeah. We hadn't really gone deep on like the introspective stuff together in a very long time, like since we started Noble. And a few days ago, we did like a whiteboard session on just like, where are we aligned? Like all of these just like simple questions that just pulled out all these like great answers. I really felt like we both grew through that session and are like still kind of processing it. I would say just like entrepreneurship is the game of figuring out what you're really, really good at and like what you are really, really deficient at. And you can kind of hide that in the corporate world, or you can just get plugged into the slot and just like do your thing over and over again. But when you're starting a business, you have to be like able to take on things that you're not necessarily good at and try to be as good as you possibly can until you like can either fund someone coming in and taking that role or develop the skills to actually be good at it. So just being aware, I think, is like aware enough to like know when you're just like a temporary plug-in for a certain role or task, or like this is gonna be a thing that you're owning for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But I think like as we've grown, one of the things that I've appreciated is just the ability to like actually get real-time feedback on your efforts. I don't think I really got that as much in the corporate world, but like when you're actually working on a project with somebody else who's like is holding you responsible, when you fuck up, there's immediate feedback on the business and immediate feedback on things that you're trying to build. And I just love that. It's like sports. It's like baseball. Like if you strike out, all right, you're back on the bench. Like, and you get 8 other people up in front of you going to take their at bats before you get another chance to go out there. So that like real time feedback to me has been like the best part about doing this. And I think I'm like still in the early innings of just like the growth that I'm experiencing. But I know like I've just come a long way in terms of really seeing where my strengths can actually be applied in the most valuable way going forward. which I think is fun because
Yeah.
a lot of people don't even know what their gifts are, like what they're really, really good at.
Yeah, I mean, I
just-
didn't know the product development, branding, any of that type of stuff when I was in my clinic.
Yeah. Yeah. You thought you were a great chiro.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was saying, and trying a bunch of stuff makes me realize like that's the thing that lights me up the most right now. And I actually started thinking about this the other day I think that I'm going to go back at some point to doing in-person care. Not necessarily like I was doing before, completely different angle. We could talk about that at some point, but I know it's not right now. I just know like whatever it is right now, I'm just going to focus on that process right now.
Yeah.
And not try to do a trillion different things. How's it been for you?
Is that where do you feel like you've run into, because I think this is like the entrepreneur's problem is they like see so many opportunities and they like want to chase them all. And that's, I think we're definitely, I've fallen in that camp for sure where I'm like, we could do this, we can do this, we can do this. It's like, you kind of got to pick.
Well, the issue with what you were saying before regarding you don't know what you're good at, typically the people who have success are the people who are good at everything. And when you're good at everything, it's really tough to say no to things. And it's not even like what being skill, like this central skill that most entrepreneurs have is being able to figure out how to get skills everywhere. So that's what you need to do. Like you're not going to thrive if you don't have that skill, if you can't figure out everything that needs to be figured out really fast. And so those people kind of filter through as being able to figure out, in my mind, not what can you do well.
Yeah.
You should be able to do everything well, in my opinion. It's about what are things you can do well that are also very fulfilling and fun and feel like to me, it's like something that needs to get out.
Yes.
Like a creative process. Like I have this thing in me and like needs to come out.
Yeah. There's like an imperative.
Yeah.
Like
I can like also like write copy really well, but like writing for me is not, I don't get that sense of like needing to process something and like get it out of me. Whereas like making these things and like solutions to like, I want this to exist, doesn't exist. Branding, like I have a vision typically in my head of what the thing is. And like it needs to come out of me.
Yeah.
And that I think is what applies across any like creative pursuit.
Yeah.
I think that's where I have at least been able to like craft a lot of my time and how I spend it in that zone. Instead of just like, and it's tricky to be able to do a lot of things, to know which ones you should be passing off. So I think that when people find the thing that is that creative process for them, and some people it is customer service, and some people it is spreadsheets and finance. Like I can do those things, but it doesn't feel like the same thing to me. And so I should offload those things instead of the classical business stuff is like when companies get larger, oh, you don't have these skills. You should, find your weaknesses and, offload those or whatever. And again, I just think like I've seen it with you guys as well. Like there aren't a lot of weaknesses. There are a lot of lack of skills because you haven't done anything. But once you start doing something, you figure it out immediately and you're like excellent. You're not going to do anything in the business and be bad at it.
Yeah.
Unless like the only exception to that is like, unless you try to do them all, which I think is
At the same time.
Yeah. And you're like, oh fuck, like now you're bad at all of them.
Yeah. I feel like it's, to answer your question, Anthony, like what it's taught me is you're actually having me have new revelations and new insights, because the stuff that lights me on fire is like, since I was in college, like I love sales. Like I love building relationships. I love how to figure out like how to add value to people. Like when I was in my, like the first corporate sales job that I ever had when I was 23, like I used to love just going and meeting with new clients and just getting coffee with them and just talking to them and figure out, is there like one or two ways that I can maybe add value to this person? And I think that's partially why we've been able to grow the podcast really quickly, because I feel like maybe one of my gifts is just being able to build relationships with the right people and just find ways to add value to those people. But I've also found that that skill set is very applicable to Noble with like, investors or getting into retailers or connecting with the right affiliates or even just talking to customers or things like that. I think it's definitely allowed me to identify my weaknesses, where like your gift of being able to put together like this beautiful branding and packaging and design, like that's not my skill set, but it's like, if I have a great concept, like just give me the rock and then I can kind of go out and kind of act on those gifts, so to speak. And it's also taught me too, like to your point, building a world-class team around you that can fill in those gaps so you can focus on those gifts in a way that you're going to be the most effective and also truly enjoy the work is so important too, because when I get away from that, that's when I start to feel that like fatigue at the end of the day where I want to just sit on the couch and literally watch Suits for 4 hours versus like when I'm spending my day doing those things, it's like I could do that literally all day, every day because I love it.